open with storybook intro. Shrek is reading Peter Pan to his children. His daughter Felicia is the most captivated by the story. Her brothers are less attentive. Montage of Shrek's family life over the next several years as his children grow up. The book remains a constant for Felicia. End montage in present day. Felicia, now 18, wants to have her own epic adventure like the ones her father went on during the first 4 movies. However, Shrek, now a very devoted family man, is struggling to come to terms with his children being all grown up and is not ready to let go of them. Felicia wants to run away and decides that she must make her own destiny to escape her boring life at home. Call back to the opening of Shrek 1 where Shrek was enjoying his life, only now Felicia is not enjoying hers. She makes tally marks and stares at the stars, waiting for her story to begin. The swamp has become her tower. Shrek has very much matured over the course of his many adventures. He sees much of himself in Felicia, and thinks back to the previous film where he gave up a stable life with his family out of dissatisfaction and nearly lost everything. He does not want his daughter to repeat his mistake, but is unable to adequately communicate this concern without some of his signature Shrek hot-headedness. He'll phrase it bluntly instead of trying to understand his daughter. Felicia is also headstrong in her own right, and it is difficult for her to see things from her father's perspective because of her own ambition. Felicia announces to the family that she is going away on her own adventure, to rescue herself from the tower, as she puts it. Shrek and Fiona are both against this decision. Shrek and Felicia get into a heated argument that quite literally ends with the swamp being set ablaze. Shrek throws the book into the fireplace and Felicia tries to get it back, and in the ensuing chaos the swamp goes up in flames. The boys bump into each other and knock something else over, and Donkey shows up and does donkey things, and the swamp is gone forever. After losing the swamp, the family decides to relocate to far, far away. Shrek asks for Dragon's help to fly the family there, and Donkey inserts himself into the situation by bringing himself and his entire family along for the ride. They arrive at far, far away. That night, Shrek attempts to apologize to Felicia, but in classic Shrek fashion, fumbles it. Felicia looks back up at the stars and makes up her mind, fleeing from her family into the night. Shrek tosses and turns, thinking about what he could have said differently. He has a dream where he's brought back to his childhood and his own rocky relationship with his father. Shrek must get back in touch with his past, and how he came to end up where he is now. Shrek wakes up in the morning with a newfound sense of clarity, and the first thing he does is go to Felicia's room to try to make things right. She's gone. He quickly gathers the others and tells them what has happened, admitting that it was his fault. Shrek opens up to his wife and sons about his past, and tells them about what he was like as a young ogre. Meanwhile, Felicia is leaving the outskirts of Far, Far Away, looking for adventure. She comes across Peter Pan, voiced by Tom Holland, who also appears to be running away from something. He says that he just came from a battle with Captain Hook, who is taking over Neverland, and that only a true hero can save it. Felicia realizes that this is the moment she's been waiting for. She takes the call to action, and offers to return to Neverland with Peter to save the day. In this universe, Peter Pan is an autobiography about the hero's escapades, and Felicia goes with him thinking that she'll become the star of her own book, like Shrek. Shrek and the family set off to search for Felicia. They split up, with Fiona and Dragon going to track Felicia, Fergus and Farkle going off on their own hunt, and Shrek and Donkey going on another Shrek and Donkey adventure. Eventually, they take a break from putting up missing posters in the Poison Apple, where Captain Hook approaches them, saying that he knows what happened to Shrek's daughter. Shrek and Donkey initially dismiss Hook because of his established vendetta against Peter Pan, but later that night they regroup with the rest of the family. Fiona and Dragon report picking up on Felicia's scent, but it noticeably disappears without a trace. Fergus and Farkle describe a similar encounter with other teens their age who are on their way to Neverland, but then vanish into thin air. Shrek and Donkey then realize that what Hook was saying was true. The whole family then goes to meet with Hook, who says he can get them to Neverland if they help him kill Peter Pan. Captain Hook tells Shrek and Co. about how Peter Pan took over his island and wrote a book about how great he is, painting Hook as the villain. Then he reveals how Peter Pan turned the island into a time loop of a prison, where he lures kids into their doom with their deepest desires. We cut to Felicia on the island, fighting monsters and saving the day and doing hero things. She's having the time of her life, but eventually starts to question where Captain Hook is. Peter Pan tells Felicia his evil plan about kidnapping and milking the lost boys for stories. He rationalizes his tale and thinks he's in the right by giving the Lost Boys what they want, but Felicia is disgusted. Felicia realizes that Peter Pan is just trying to keep her there for his own success. She escapes from Peter Pan, but is then able to get off of the island. Shrek and the family ride on Dragon with Hook's guidance to Neverland. The boys stay behind to look after the donkeys. In the middle of the action, cut back to the boys struggling to handle the donkeys, causing chaos in the castle. Cameo from Artie yelling at them. They split up again, Shrek and Fiona going together this time while Donkey goes with Hook. Shrek and Fiona find a facsimile of the swamp and are drawn to it, while Hook and Donkey find Peter Pan. Felicia finds her parents stuck in the swamp. Felicia initially thinks that her parents being there is another trick or illusion until she hears their conversation and Shrek opening up to Fiona again. Felicia enters and has a heart-to-heart with her parents. Shrek finally tells Felicia about his past and everything that has been on his mind. The magic of Neverland brings his memories to life and Felicia can finally see what her father has been through. Shrek has to relearn how to be open to adventure. After the fourth movie, he became scared of change and losing everything. He just wants to stay in the swamp, his safe space. Felicia convinces her parents, mostly Shrek, to help her defeat Peter Pan and set all of the children free. She has to convince Shrek that it will be okay and that they'll be together throughout. Shrek, Fiona, and Felicia confront Peter Pan, who's captured Hook and Donkey. Peter Pan goes on a rant about Shrek. He's been making remakes of his own story for the past 20 years and has become obsessed with Shrek's popularity. Peter Pan thinks that if he puts an ogre in his story, he'll re-enter the mainstream. His legacy is the only thing keeping him alive. Neverland's magic is fading with its popularity, and in recent years Peter has had to resort to nefarious tactics to bring lost boys to the island. Now, he quite literally wants to live off of Shrek's fame. If his notoriety goes out, Peter Pan will die. Peter Pan dramatically sets up a final duel with his knife. Shrek walks over and casually disarms him, plucking the blade from his skinny little arm and dropping it to the floor. Peter Pan chuckles nervously and tries to run away, but is stopped by Captain Hook, who stabs him. Peter Pan collapses to the floor, groaning in pain. The family gathers around Peter Pan. He says to Shrek that he will befall the same fate someday, but Shrek doesn't mind, because the present is what matters, not the past and not the future. Peter Pan says, "This is how your story will end, Shrek! Just like mine!" And then Shrek says, "Like that's ever gonna happen." And then poof, dust. I don't know, he blows away into dust or something, I don't know. The Lost Boys are set free. Donkey, who left earlier in the scene, returns on Dragon to pick up Shrek, Fiona, and Felicia. They return home together. Hook stays behind to rebuild Neverland. Dance party ending. Puss in Boots shows up at the very end with his new friends from The Last Wish, and all the Shrek characters, past and present, have a dance party in Far, Far Away. The end. So there you have it, loyal hypothesists. The perfect plot to the latest installment in a perfect franchise. Shrek must face his past in order to save his future, the next logical step in his story and a fitting conclusion to his character arc. He learns from his mistakes, makes a few new ones, learns from them too, has tender moments with his family, bickers with his best friend, and passes the torch to his daughter, the heir to the throne of the greatest story ever told.